Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to a GeekVerse Retrospective. I'm the Fool Me Twice, Travis Snell, and I'm joined by...
I am. What the fuck are you, Kirklin Patzer?
I am the repetitious Dylan Musk. Now, is that even a word or is it just repetitive? Is repetitious
I
actually a
think
word?
repetitious
That's a
is a
word.
word. Yeah,
Okay. Well, I'll go with that then.
yeah. I feel like it's like a post and past tense
Another
sort of thing.
term for repetitive.
For what?
Another term
I like
for
it more than
repetitive.
repetitive, I think. Repetitious.
Yeah, I like it too.
Repetitious. Yeah. And finally,
The emptied man, Taylor Field.
there you go. You sound like the Tin Man from Wizard of Oz. Like, I'm the emptied man.
Really enunciate that.
Anyways, ladies and gentlemen,
hard.
Oh my God,
Yeah.
what a cup.
I missed it. What was the cup?
That was a really
It's a
cool
It's
freezer
a
cup.
mug.
It's like a
yeah.
Stein.
Freezer cup.
mug.
Yeah.
That's like
kind
a
of
Stein.
Stein-like, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's not a mug, but it's not a like. What classifies
It's a
as a
mug.
mug?
It's got to have like
Okay.
a handle, probably a
then
certain shape.
But I
made
feel
of
like
ceramic.
a cup with a handle is not just a cup. I feel like that's something else too.
It's a
you
tall
know?
mug.
It's a tall. There you go, a tall
It's a
mug.
drinking mug.
First time I ever had one of those at my grandma's. That's where she always put the iced tea. And I was like, "What is this evolutionary thing you have here?"
What is this cup? Is it a
Yeah,
mug?
yeah.
Yeah.
And because it's like
It's Halloween
2002.
themed. It's orange. You know?
It's great,
I like
yeah.
it.
It's like 2002, where it's like I've never seen a cup like this before. But you know what?
What
Some
year
of us
is it?
have. Yeah, you know what? Some of us haven't seen before is the Empty Man. Now you might be wondering, why the fuck are you guys reviewing the Empty Man? Because if you look at this, it's like a cult classic, not reviewed by many though, a box office bomb and stuff like that. But this is how it works. And if you in the future want to dictate what we do, because these polls have gone completely off the rails, but I love it. Like the Brad Pitt one, we got Megamind. For this, we got Empty Man. The video game one, I'm not too. I think that's the first one where we got Jake Gyllenhaal's Prince of Persia. And we're like, okay, I've heard lots of bad things about this movie. I feel like people want us to review this. I've never seen it fully, so I'm excited. That'll be coming in November. Look out for the Prince of Persia retrospective. And then December, there'll be a Christmas one. And what we talked about in the town hall is when we're doing every month, we're going to do a Patreon retrospective, which that means everyone on our Patreon gets to put in their subjections, or their subjections, what the fuck, their submissions, and then at the Patreon producer tier, because hence the producer part, you get to vote on what we will be watching. So I'd have to pull it out. Maybe I'll pull out one of these gents are talking, but there was a few movies. I think there was like It Follow was in there. There's a few. It's like down to 4, and then Empty Man took it away, and here we are. We're gonna be talking about this. But today, Phil, we got lots going on at the time of recording this. We got Andor's out and House Dragon's out. We got Black Adam coming out. You and Dylan just did a side quest this week, Grounded. So there's lots of things on the feed right now, and we're in the ramping up to November 5th, our Extra Life charity stream. Where can they find that all?
Ladies and gentlemen, you can find that with your internet connection in the search bar. GeekVerse.ca is our home base. GeekVerseCast is our Twitter, and GeekVerse is our Facebook.
Everything you need to know down below. Video, audio, Discord, our podcast network that has 8 shows and a slew of great people in there that will be appearing in the trivia battle come November 5th. It's going to be lots of fun. As you've seen, people have been starting to announce for that. Hosts, players, participants. So look out for that. That's going to be a good one. But there's tons of events. Title matches. We're saying goodbye to the Gauntlet. We got a Monopoly battle. Taylor and Kirkland's last Call of Duty match ever, at least on air. I'm sure that when they're 80, they'll still be like, I'm better than you. But for the last one, they're tied 2-piece. Gauntlet. We're going out in style. Last one to decide who wins it all. And they're playing a bunch of different Call of Duties, not just one. And then head over to Manscaped, get that podcast code GVPOD and get 20% off and free worldwide shipping. And like I just pimped up before, the Patreon, where you could be voting on polls like this, getting this episode ad-free, early, getting exclusive episodes, joining After 9, which happens this Saturday, the movie watch along, which is going to be fun. And it's going to be a good time. So... and a big thank you to the people that did vote on this one. Aaron Braden, April Darkness, Smalley Biggs, Joshua Wright. If you want to get every benefit and vote, go join them, and we thank them and everyone else in between. Whether you're listening, watching, we very much appreciate it, because there's lots of podcasts out there. And there's been twice this week. Luckily, I guess it's because our Halloween Ends review. I think people just want to see if me and Taylor could coexist after we've been fighting. But lots of people being like, hey, first time I've listened, I'm going to stick around. So you know what? Thanks. And maybe you stick around for Empty Man. We'll see what happens. So... Wow, because I only know the reaction of one person, so I'm not going to lead with that person, but I don't know the reaction of the other
probably
two.
me.
Okay,
I go first. I can open up.
then I'm going to throw it to Dylan.
Wow.
Put myself
leave-
out
look at
there,
that
make
plot
myself
twist.
vulnerable, and he
I'm
just
gonna leave
kicks me while I'm
Kirkland
down.
last there, you know? So okay, he maybe showed his thing, but Dylan Musk, what do you think of? Okay, first of all, before this, because I think you had said this before that you hadn't heard any of these. Before this poll, you had never heard of The Empty Man before, right?
That is correct. And I'm always surprised when that happens when a movie has come out during the podcast lifespan.
Yes.
Especially because this came out in 2020, was it?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Pretty
2020.
recently.
Yeah.
So that's even more surprising. That's when we're like really paying attention to stuff, and I feel like I kind of on top of things. But like, yeah, this just completely went under whatever radar I had going on. So, yeah.
And what did you think about? So this is your first time watch. What did you think about it? Obviously, it's gonna be overalls. It's 2 years. Like I think there will be one big twist we'll save. So if you still want to watch the movie, you'll be safe for our opening, discussion. I'd say so.
Yeah, well, first of all, I mean, I'm very glad the patrons picked this because I think this is a very interesting movie, and this is definitely one that I need to deliberate on. Like, I don't think I have my answer yet as to how I feel about this movie. I feel like I have a lot of questions for you guys. I want to hear your thoughts, but overall, I think that there are a lot of cool concepts at play here on like some tropes that we've seen a lot in horror, but this movie's trying to kind of take some of those and mix them up, do something different with it. But I think at the end of the day, like this movie kind of just went downhill for me as it kept going on. As my name is alluding to, there's a lot of repetitions which are intentional, but then at the end of the day, like this movie is super, super long, like way longer than I think it needs to be for what it's trying to achieve here. And ultimately, like I just liked the earlier sequences of the movie, what's going on there, the kind of the opening section. I really liked that compared to what the rest of the story is. I like those sequences more. So by the end of it, I was pretty out of it. And when it's all said and done, I feel like I'm very confused by this. There's a lot of plot twists, things going on here that I just do not understand. So I hopefully you guys can clear some up with me, or maybe you are just as confused as I am. I'm not too sure, but yeah, overall, I'd say I'm not in love with this one. I don't think I'll ever watch it again, but still glad I watched it at least once.
All right. So Taylor Field, how did you feel about this movie?
This is one that I was definitely aware of, but I didn't know anything about it. And it's, again, like you, Dylan, it slipped under my radar because I usually like to check into these kind of, at least based on the promotional material, like the poster and movie poster and stuff. It definitely was intriguing. So it stuck with me. But I think I often probably confuse like the Empty Man with like the Bye Bye Man, because that's another horror movie that they have out there.
So before you go, that's one of the reasons why this movie got delayed. Is so this movie was actually filmed it was done in 2017. They didn't release it because they are worried it'd be too confusing for the audience, which I don't think they were wrong. And two, the Bye Bye Man came out and bombed terribly, so they didn't want people to associate it with this. So this movie got kicked 3 years later, and when it came out, bombed critically, like fan wise, but then after for a while it gained this, like, and it does have tons of people in my time all the time are like bringing up as like a hidden gem, but that was sort of the Bye Bye Man did have a bit to do with as far as people might think this is similar, let's sit on this movie, and it just sit on the shelf for 3 years just waiting to get released. So
Wow.
Bye Bye Man, Slender Man,
yeah,
Empty Man.
Yeah, Batman.
Yeah,
he got through
He got through
finally.
Yeah. So when it came to this movie, I was gonna do a movie night and watch it with Madison, and she ended up going to bed, so she didn't watch it. And I thought, you know what? Okay, it's 10 o'clock at night. Let's pop it on. And by the time I finish the movie, I'll watch Andor. We'll see how that goes. But anyway, so I watched it, and I thought, holy fuck, this movie is long. And what started off very intriguing, but I shouldn't add a but. When it started off, I actually really liked it. I liked what we were getting, the setting, everything like that. I thought, okay, this is very cool. I feel like this is very much something that I should have tuned into sooner, because I really like what we're getting into. And then it just starts to accelerate, and I feel like, okay, like we're really, really accelerating. And then all of a sudden, after like a plethora of stuff occurs, we get like the title card. I thought, that's only like the beginning part? What the fuck? And then it just transitions. And again, not a spoiler, just totally different setting and scenery. And I thought, okay, this is very, very throwing me for a loop here. But I wonder, okay, how's it going to come back to what we started off at the beginning of the film? Doesn't come back to it at all, aside from just like other perspectives and displays and representations of it later on in the film, which is fine because they're calling back to it. But I would have loved to have gone and explored what actually, like, that the setting and the theme of this, like how it started out. I think there's a lot more to explore with that, but we didn't get that. So trying to just latch on and connect with these characters was fucking out to lunch. That's not happening. And trying to really
Out to lunch.
Trying to really kind of understand and tag along on the bus of this narrative was extremely difficult, because the bus had all flat tires and it wasn't working. So yeah, I don't think I'm ever going to watch this movie again. And when I just Googling it and trying to figure out certain components, because I took to the Googles and tried to like research it, and I got a couple answers.
You're like our
but-
main character.
Yeah.
What is the empty
Finds a
man?
bottle, blows into it.
I found some answers, I think, but I think I have a similar status on how I feel about what they were trying to explain with the movie about like individual people, I guess. And this isn't a spoiler, but like when you're in the situation, you know, the toll comes due, and like what are you gonna do as a person? So
What the fuck we talking about? Right
Did we watch
now?
the same
talking about
movie?
the empty man.
Are you sure you're not reviewing the Bye Bye Man? Right?
I'll leave it at that.
That'd be so good. Oh, did we have that very close to happen on a retro review once where someone watched a completely different version?
Well, we were talking about doing that for Pinocchio. Remember? That was like the thing.
I know I did
We
that
should have
for
done that. We
Dragon
all
Ball.
should have watched another random like horror movie that bombed in the year 2020.
Was that it, Taylor, for Dragon Ball? Did you watch
Might
it
have been because I watched this live action one. You guys watched a different one. I was like, "Fuck, this movie was terrible."
Right, that's what happened. We were doing Broly, and you watched the
Oh,
live
yeah,
action
yeah.
one, and you didn't join us for the review because we started talking about, it, and you're like, "I didn't watch this movie."
I'm like, this
man.
movie's awesome. Taylor's like, holy shit, what is this?
Yeah, it's like the Dragon Ball guys saying this. Okay, so you say you didn't watch Madison. Dylan, did you watch it alone, or did you watch it with Mats? Okay,
Oh, I was
you
so
watched it
alone when I watched this one. Yeah.
Kirklin, please tell me you did not watch this shit because I feel like she would have hated you.
No,
Yeah.
I did not want to just put that on her.
Go
Are you
ahead.
asking me my
Yeah,
review?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, no,
You
that's
said
what
you were
you're-
giving me
yeah.
last, so there you go. Yeah, this was an interesting watch. I watched it in 2 sittings, and like Taylor, I thought the opening was so much longer than what it actually was. Because last night I started it up. I was doing some homework while I was going on, so I was kind of like 75% watching, but I thought like that sequence was probably covering like 40 plus minutes of like the actual movie. So like
the movie.
yeah,
Which
so
in all the reviews when this movie did get critically destroyed, everyone was like, "But the first 20 minutes is great." It even says on the Wikipedia page, it's like the
Yeah.
opening of this movie is highly praised, but the rest of it not so much.
I thought that was gonna be the whole movie, and then the title card came up, and like I said, like I was in a vacuum. I had no idea how much time passed. I was like, "What the fuck?" And then I paused it, and there was still like an hour 40 left. Blew my mind, but I think like my overall is pretty similar to Dylan, where I opening, yes, I definitely loved what I was seeing, but as the movie went on, it was totally just losing me. There maybe be like a couple things that would happen that really I don't know, piqued my interest, and I've just kept like swaying back and forth. I felt on like a pendulum where I don't know if I hate this movie and I don't know if I love this movie. So I definitely, I guess unlike Dylan, I do want to rewatch this because I want to see how I actually feel, because there was some definitely interesting concepts that I'm excited to talk to you guys about, and it's funny how similar some of the ideas that they're tackling were to just like some other things examples I'll bring up when we get there, but it was definitely an interesting movie, way longer than it should have been, so I agree with that sentiment where I felt like maybe it could have been like bare minimum 45 minutes like shorter than what it was. It really was dragging on in certain areas, and I don't know, I just felt like maybe they sped through interesting parts of the movie to like get to some uninteresting parts of the movie for me. I don't know if that makes any sense, but we'll detail it when we get there. But yeah, overall I'm a little unsure.
So yeah, for me, it's interesting because the person that submitted this for our Patreon picks was Patreon Clay, U.S. Claygen, who's been one of our oldest patrons, and so it's his pick. So congratulations, it's your movie. There you go. The reason I've seen this, hence my name, Fool Me Twice, is because he highly recommended this, and then like I said, I've seen lots of people highly recommend these before. So I had watched this probably about a year ago, because he went and put it on, and Emily's like, "Didn't you just watch this not too long ago?" I'm like, "Yeah, I did." And I kind of said back then that, hey, there's things that were told in this review that I like, dislike. It's not a big the difference. I think I'm much like this guy's, where the first 20 minutes it's a different movie, and I do like, it's like I want that movie, and then as we go along, I'm like, oh, there's some interesting stuff here, but I don't think they ever get past me being interested. I think there's some really high concept stuff going on here, but I think it's sometimes the movie suffers because it's just like, oh, it's this big twist. Like that, to me, that's the biggest thing about this movie, and I think that kind of hurts some of the things. It's very much like, I'd say, like a Sixth Sense, as far as like this changes the perspective of the whole movie. It's not like he's seeing ghosts. I'm not saying that, but it's like there's two different versions. So I was hoping when I rewatched it again, because lately I've rewatched Midsommar and Hereditary, and I've liked those a lot more than the first time I saw them. I would rate them a lot more higher now. So I was hoping I was going to get the same effect with this, and I didn't really. I kind of felt the same. The only thing that worked better is I understood it more, because last time when I saw it, luckily, we always say that about these weird movies, like, oh, I can't wait for the YouTube explainer. The second I watched this movie the first time, I was hitting up YouTube of like, okay, what is everything here? That so this time at least it's like, okay, I got to watch from that perspective and the twist, and I knew everything going in, and I feel like, and that's why maybe Dylan has some questions. I feel like, okay, I got a good grasp on what was going on now, but it didn't actually make me enjoy the movie much more. I'd still say I like it. I still give it like a passing grade when we get to the end, and I think there's one sequence in particular, maybe about 20-25 minutes, I'd just say, when this guy is on a certain type of land looking into things, and there's just certain things he bumps into, some really cool like scares, or just like moments where you're getting goosebumps, like, oh my god, like imagine if you're in this situation, this is awful. So I think there's some merit to it, but I will never watch this again, I don't think. I said it the first time, but obviously the patrons came in and changed that, but I didn't like it enough on a second watch to come back to. I thought, oh, it's an interesting movie, but that's about it, so that's all I have to say. Justin Costello says, awesome that folks are discussing film. Lot to decode and discuss, especially considering the studio tried to bury it. Yeah, it's funny, but here's the thing, and people might be mad because like if there's some people that really enjoy it, I don't. From a studio perspective, I don't blame them, because I would have to go back, because I don't remember seeing trailers. I could just see a studio getting this film and just being like, what the fuck do we do with this? Like, how do we market this? How is this going to play? And it didn't. Like, the studio was kind of right in a way where I guess you could say, oh, they could give it more production or a promotion budget, this and that. But this to me is a very good thing. I think the budget's only like 15 million, so it isn't that big of a loss or something. But it's a very weird type of movie. I guess it needed like the A24 treatment in a way to kind of get that buzz. But I don't know. It does have buzz, but it is an interesting case.
I feel like on the marketing side of things, like since it is playing on so many tropes in the first way, like it's got that classic like Beetlejuice or like Bloody Mary kind of thing where you
yes,
do this ritual and it summons this guy. Like that's an easy thing to market. Or even just like, the kids, all these kids going missing in this town, and
True.
this ex-cop's going to go find them. Like, I don't know, all that stuff seems pretty straightforward. I think how you tied into that beginning sequence, that might be a bit more difficult, but they could just totally skip past that in the marketing and let that be a surprise, or show a quick shot of something like that.
Every trailer is just of that opening sequence.
See, that would be a huge
Everybody
mistake.
thinks that they're going to see a different movie.
Or a huge subversion. I don't know.
I was going to say, everyone watched Barbarians. I'm pretty sure I saw a screen grab that someone was saying Barbarians is coming to Disney Plus October 26th. It's not, yeah. So everyone check out that. If you want to see a movie like that where the trailer is like the first 20 minutes and the rest of the movie is something else, that's Barbarians. But it's interesting because, Dylan, you're completely right. Of like, those are great tropey things, and I'd have to look at what the cinema score was. But then I imagine once people got in there, they might have been pissed, because like the whole movie, I feel like I feel like you got that 20 minutes, and then you got the section where it is like looking for the boogeyman. But then I feel like the last hour is more like over the top, like not over the top cheesy, just like very trippy, very high concept, almost sci-fi stuff. So you would get some of that, but I feel like if people want like a movie monster, it's the same thing. Like you guys didn't see it, but that's the big thing with Halloween Ends, is like it's advertised as a slasher, but it's not really that much of a slasher. So lots of people are pissed about it, and that's why I feel like a lot of people would be pissed if they saw these trailers. And I should have maybe at the end of this cast I'll bring up a trailer, we'll watch it, because I have no idea like what they would have shown and stuff.
That'd be interesting. Well, I mean, I'm
gonna find
curious because you said this got pushed to 2020.
Yeah,
was that
3
like
years later?
Was that post-pandemic though? 2020? Like, what part of the reason this bombed is that just because of that?
I think it was. I think it was one of those like early like let's test and put it out and everything like that.
Okay, well,
let's
that I
take a
mean
look.
that at least gives it a bit more like
Yeah,
reason for why it bombed.
100%. October 23rd, 2020. So that was like still right
Oh,
in
yeah.
the middle of the pandemic and everything like that. So they're just like, let's see what the Empty Man does.
Right? Yeah.
And that's
It
Bye
must
bye,
have been
man.
streaming, right? Like I think theaters had to have been closed at that point, weren't they?
Yeah.
Well, no, because Tenet had come out in July, wasn't
Yep.
it? So it would have been a couple months after that.
I think some places, because I think Taylor, they're like us. Remember when, like with Kong and Wonder Woman were in Canada, we got them in streaming, but some places in America did have theaters. So
It's
that's
true.
another thing too, and everything like that. Yeah, it's a good point about the pandemic, because I didn't even think about that. So, anything else overall before we start getting into some of the nitty gritty of it and everything like that?
Clay, you robbed me of 2 hours.
Oh my god!
Spicy.
Holy moly! Okay, so before we get this, yeah, I'm interested. I'm going to share this trailer. We're going to watch it because I've never seen this.
We're gonna break down the trailer.
Yeah, we're gonna
It's the whole
pause
episode.
scene by scene.
Yeah.
You know, you guys
and a
got
half.
sound over there?
Yep.
Okay. All right. So,
Hey, wait. We gotta try it.
oh, yeah, Dylan's
Yeah,
hitting it on the
okay.
head right here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The group of kids, yeah, they
Yeah.
got it all. Right?
Dylan
Have you,
directed
have you
this
heard about
trailer.
the Empty Man?
If you're on a bridge.
Dylan actually directed the movie. It's like a Ghost Rider name.
So even having the blood on the mirror, like that's a very
Yeah.
popular thing.
Yeah, that's smart. Yeah. Okay.
Oh,
Like
come
it,
on,
oh, they showed the
Oh.
first 20 minutes. Look at that.
Ooh,
Okay.
There's snow in it.
Adds
Oh,
a bit of
there's young
intrigue
Adam
for the
Driver
viewer.
from It. There you go.
On the second night.
Oh, naked woman. Always smart
Yeah.
to show
Uh-huh.
off in a trailer. Yeah. Okay.
Well, on the third night, he finds
And
you.
they're setting up the ring rules of like 7 days, 3 days, stuff like that.
What a shot.
He finds you.
There you go. On October 23rd.
It's showing like occult stuff too.
Yeah. Oh, that's the ending of the movie right there. Damn.
Wow.
Okay.
Thoughts.
You know, this isn't bad. Good trailer. Wow, they just show the the family reveal there.
Just continue.
Show Elrond there.
Yeah, Elrond in
Yeah.
there.
The empty man.
Oh, of course. They're gonna end with the Empty Man running at him. Is that what they're gonna do?
The empty man. The empty man.
Because I feel like that's the money shot, right? Because there's not too many huge scares in this. I gotta show him. Oh, here goes a big jump scare. Here we go.
Oh. Oh fuck.
And
Okay,
that
they
weird
kinda showed
camera.
him. Yeah, yeah.
See, like that's not a bad trailer, you know.
No, that's a good trailer.
I'd see that.
We did. Yeah.
I feel like I
watch it
watched a
again.
different movie though. That
Did
was
I?
the same
Oh, yeah.
movie.
Yeah, well, Taylor, let's start off with the first 20 minutes because I feel like that's something you're, at least with most of us, very positive on. So, what were you feeling about? It's, I guess, technically 22 minutes. What do you feel about? We meet a couple hikers. You know, they're on a little journey here, very cold, very snowy. They find some sort of cave, and obviously that begins our sorrows here with the Empty Man.
Yeah, I thought the whole opening part here was great. Like you're just exploring and you're just building tension of their hike, and I just going in that there's something is going to be unfortunately happening in this movie, and I thought this was going to be like our main characters for the bulk of this. And so when we get this cave scene where they encounter this weird being, I thought, oh, this is so cool. I'm really digging this. Like, what is going to be like? What is going to come out of this? Is this thing going to like resurrect itself? Is it gonna
The
like
skeleton's great
spiritually
looking.
possess? Yeah, like it was
Yeah.
super cool. Like it's obviously like playing some kind of mental possession on our character here, and I was really driving with it. I thought this is awesome. So when that kind of concludes and they go to the cabin and it's like day 2 and stuff, I thought, okay, this is cool. I really like how we're gonna have this isolated story and we're gonna have these people in this cabin. Like I know we've seen this kind of thing before in different scenarios or aesthetics, but I'm all for it with this. This is gonna be great. And it's like, yeah, day 3, and then they're up by the bridge, and all of a sudden fucking chick just goes stab on the guy's back, and then like they just start falling off the cliff. I was like, what the fuck? What happened to the movie? Like it's over. And then it was like
Short
title
film.
card. Yeah, title card. And then we carried on. I was like, well, that sucks because I really wanted to explore more of that. But I thought like the things that they again did in that opening sequence, like aside from the killing part, was just great. When she goes outside and you see that figure standing out there and she walks closer to it and it steps back, and then it just starts like like running towards her, and she just like freaks out and runs inside. I like that. That was pretty cool. The other scene too, when she's like sleeping and the guy's like over top. Like, I don't know if anyone else does this to their partners, but yeah, like just whispering into your your spouse's ear or something. Sometimes.
I would never do such a thing.
I'm assuming he was issuing the command into her.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, but great sequence. Good
Oh yeah, no, and I was just looking at cinema score too as a D plus. Yeah, audiences were not happy with that. But I was gonna say with we were referring to the girl being whispered. I really liked that just because the first time I watched it, I was expecting him to do the killing. So all of a sudden, when she was just popping off and sort of stab people and slit throats, that took me by surprise because I did not see that coming at all. And I think it is a smaller tier like budget movie wise, but I think that sequence is shot well and it looks good and stuff like that. Like I think lots of it's actual location, but it looks good. Again, it like looks like the movie I wanted to see, like all of that in that location. And I remember after I watched this is actually when I rewatched The Descent, because when they went in that cave, I was like, oh, I want to watch that again. So I have nothing but just like 10 out of 10s for the opening. It's just creepy. It's great. You're wondering what's going on. It's good stuff.
Yeah, it's funny though because like coming into this movie, I had no idea like what it was. Obviously, we just watched the trailer all together for the first time. I thought this movie was actually the Kevin Bacon one, Hollow Man.
Oh
So
my god!
I was
the
completely
2002
surprised.
Hollow Man.
Yeah, that's what I thought it was coming into it. So I was like, oh, I've seen that movie. That'll be fun to rewatch. And then nope, just like they're in the Himalayas and what's that deal?
I was just gonna say that's the Invisible Man. Is that the Invisible Man? Like,
Yeah,
Invisible
it's a
thing?
play on the Invisible Man.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so they're in like the Himalayas and I'm like, okay, this is gonna be a cool movie. Like you just set in the Alps and like like what we're doing here. And then, I agree with you guys, 10 out of 10 for all the horror elements and then just like being in the cabin and then when she's outside, all that stuff was phenomenal. And then when they get to the bridge and everyone just starts dying, I was completely shocked because I'm like, what the fuck is the movie gonna be now? Like if it's just the one guy who's the empty man now and he's alone in the Alps, like where are we gonna go? And then it just like goes to black, goes the empty man, and I'm like, is this just like a series of short films? Like I had no idea what was going on. So that was an interesting experience for sure. But yeah, for all the snow stuff, 10 out of 10, fantastic.
Yeah.
Love a good snow here. No, I mean it was taking me back to my trek in Nepal. The suspension bridges that are kind of sketchy, all the dream wheels,
Found
the
a
prayer
cave,
flags.
some bones.
Yeah, the creepy caves. Touch me.
That's what happened to Briggs. Briggs didn't move away. They went on some hikes and
Poor guy. But yeah, no, I mean that was so exciting for me to have a horror movie in this setting. Was very exciting, but obviously didn't stay there for too long. But I mean, we can't discredit that is a very cool part of the movie, and it's not just one. It's like 20 minutes or something like that. So it's pretty substantial little mini horror movie tucked inside this bigger horror movie. Obviously they're connected, but it feels like barely for the most part. But no, I mean that is a great sequence, and it sucks that it is at the beginning in a sense that it is just downhill from there. Although it doesn't feel that way until like near the end, I would say. I feel like it's more when it's coming together at the very end where it's like, okay, this does not fit together that well. But
I wonder how he got out of there, because we learned that the empty man hijacks, possesses this guy, right? But for a while he's not. I guess he is moving and stuff like that because he had to get to the hill and everything like that. But for a while it just seemed like he was just so comatose. It's like, how did he still get back and everything? And you still for me it's a little not unclear. But okay, so I buy that the empty man's in him, but how does that girl see the empty man like running through the snow? Even though I love the imagery of it with the snow, like it's just a storm and you can kind of see like this cloak figure, but not exactly. And then it just runs. But then when it's the knock at the door, it's her friend and stuff.
That was one of the questions I had. Is that creature we ever see a real thing? Because they're playing so much on like, oh, it's all in your head, none of it's real, and a lot of it is like whatever we transmit, you receive, whatever that line is that they say 1,000 times. So I wasn't sure, like, are any of those sequences when we see that, because it's always kind of showing like that creature going to stab someone or something, but then we see that the person stabbing themselves or something like that. So is that creature ever actually a real thing in the world?
I took it as like possibly there's something acting through like what was the sphere that they were saying, like the noosphere or something. I thought maybe it was getting at them through that.
So much jargon in this movie, man.
Because
so
that was a recurring thing that I was questioning. Like by the end of the movie, it was like, were those events actually happening? Like, how are these people getting murdered if it's all kind of centered around our protagonist character like becoming the new host or something? Like it was just hard to follow in that sense.
I think
Travis,
I think
did
it
you
has
do some
to be
Googling
real.
after that first
No, this
watch?
one I didn't actually. Funny enough, think about, because I was just more thinking about, like, all my Googling was like about the last half an hour, pretty much, which goes into like the other stuff, but obviously like the big twist. So I never thought about this. I'd assume that it is some sort of real embodiment of the empty man, because that person, like when she does kill herself, I think it's kind of like a Freddy thing where it makes it looks like it's an accident, but really something's there and something did knock, even though it was the guy that knocked. So you could kind of say it's just mind games, but I guess I lean more towards I think it is real, but I wouldn't be surprised if it's not. But I like the imagery of it because it looks kind of like death, you know, like a skeleton, bony death and stuff like that. So I like the look of it.
I mean, I guess, you know, thinking about it, in that opening sequence, if it is a real thing, like why didn't the other two friends in the group see it? Right? Because there was like no
you
time.
You mean real, like it's like can physically possess like outside the world and stuff like that.
Yeah, I guess I mean, like, is it visible, like, or is it only visible to certain people, even if it's?
That's what I think. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Just in
well, it's visible because you have to do the blowing the bottle thing, right? And didn't she, like, because the other characters didn't see that thing, it was just her. So did she not blow the bottle? I thought she was holding it at one point and she did like blow into it.
She did. I mean, she wasn't on a bridge, so she kind of broke that rule, but she did blow into it, and then like the lights started flickering right in the room.
Maybe where that cabin is on like one big bridge, you know, like it's a huge like God of War
Continental Bridge.
Yeah, like it's
Panama.
a huge, you know, so that, or that could have just been, because I'm pretty sure, I don't know if it happens before or after the whispering in her ear. Does that happen before or after? I think it is like actually after the situation. I was wondering.
I think
if
that would have been
anything
after.
Yeah. So, yeah, I'm not sure, because he only comes up a few times. He comes up with our protagonist at the end when he's chasing him. He kills that girl and stuff like that. And I guess, to me, I'm assuming that everyone that's dead is kind of killed by this thing, because they keep making it look like it's a suicide and stuff like that. You know, classic mind monster. They're always, you know, they're always
know how to
thinking,
evade the cops.
yeah, like they have all these powers. They can go shadows. You can't catch them all, but like, fuck, if the police find out, it's over for us, you know? Like, and I get it, because you're supposed to be building a legend, but I always find it's funny, these like ghosts are meticulously planning, like, well, I gotta make it look like a suicide so I can get away with it. It's like
Wiping prints. Doing all that
yeah,
stuff.
he's just somewhere like, oh shit, oh my cloak dust is getting all over the place, you know?
Yeah.
So what do we want to, because I feel like this is a big thing, do we want to talk about the film in a lateral from point A to point B, or do we want to talk about what the twist is and talk about overall? Because I feel like that I feel like there's times though where we might want to talk about something, but if we don't talk about the twist, we're gonna have to hold back and stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, I have a couple questions that I guess are maybe everything is kind of related to that twist at the end. So I would personally like to get those questions answered so that I can have a better understanding.
Okay.
Let's just cannonball right in.
So what they reveal is this whole, and we're gonna get into like set piece, because like there's certain things like what I shown in the non-spoilers was like when he goes to and he sees the cult and they're in the woods.
Oh.
God damn, that's another, to me, A plus 10 sequence. He just takes that step and they stop talking. He takes one more step and they move like a little bit, but it's perfect the way the camera looks, because like you don't know if they're looking at him, and then he moves one more time like, oh no, they're looking right at you, Bubba.
Yeah.
It's over.
Oh, and
for
the
you.
darkness with the moonlight. Oh my
yeah.
God.
So good. Yeah.
And like that's where like obviously that was placed like in a section of the movie that I was just kind of like losing interest. And then a moment like that happens where it's like, holy shit, like this is this a fantastic movie? Like I am creeped out right now. And then those moments would just keep happening, like little beacons on my dark trek through this movie. But
it reminded me a lot of Hereditary, where it has like a really big opening and then like there's a lot of
100%.
talking and it's really slow burn, but then the finale, like, oh fuck, it really ramps up. So when I saw this for the first time, I thought it was gonna be the same thing. I'm like, okay, we've had a lot of dilly-daddling, but this finale is really gonna ramp up. It does to an extent, but not to like the extent that I necessarily wanted and stuff like that. So I will say, before anyone else goes, because I completely forgot, we're gonna take our first ad break and then we'll be right back talking about more of this twist and everything. So we'll be right back. And we're back. Kirklin, you look like you're trying to get something out there.
just the Hereditary comparison, I completely agree. There was a lot of moments in this that totally made me think of that. Even like some Midsommar vibes as well. And then the other comparison that I was kind of hinting at in like the beginning was, I think Taylor's beaten Outlast. Has anybody else played that game? Fall all the way.
Oh my god, are we fucking gonna do this again? How
I just
many
do it
times
to
are we
bug
gonna
Travis
do
now.
I have beaten Outlast. I played
Gaslighting
number
Travis.
2. I'm looking
But-
very forward to Outlast Trials. My god,
I love it. Yeah. So the ending of Outlast 1 is so similar to this. Like, do you
Yes.
remember what it is? Yeah, it's crazy. So again, it was just like, was this ripped from that, or is this like an actual like ghost story in the world that like they've just taken inspiration from? Because there was just the concept there. It's like, okay, that's exactly what it is in Outlast. There's even some like I guess like some set pieces of a character running near the end, and it just looked like exactly ripped from the game Outlast.
Even the videos he finds, like when he finds that video of Empty Man being like, oh, like he should. I love when he's like dead, and they cut to like 30 seconds later, and he's like pain blood, and he's just like all rejuvenated. Like, yeah, I love it. It's just like, oh, creepy
his
stuff.
eyes are glowing.
Yeah. But anyway, so the whole movie, he's looking through stuff. Like I said, we're gonna get to big set pieces, stuff like that. He is. So there's a woman that he is. I don't know, not with. They have some attraction. That's a whole scenario we'll get into and stuff like that.
Fair, right?
Yeah, and then it wasn't really an affair. Like, it's this whole fucking weird thing. But anyway, so he is looking for his friend's daughter because she had heard things about the Empty Man. And we get this whole thing we talk about this trailer where they go to the bridge, they blow in the bottle, and it's a very, like, ring-like setup as you're going to have 3 days. First you see him, then you feel him, then he gets you, or whatever it is, right? And then so they go through all this, and he's looking through tapes, and he finds, like, a cult, and the guy from Get Out's there. So you're like, is this a Get Out continuation? No, it's not. Like, all this thing, like, there's all these, like, little crumbles, and, like, okay, what could be this answer? And what the answer is that he's a Tupla or Tulpa, however you want to pronounce it. A Tulpa. What he is supposed to be is he is the next host, because the person we met in the first 20 minutes, that got the host of the Empty Man, but he can only hold on to it for so long, so they need something else. So this is where the movie, your suspension of disbelief has to take a fucking beating, because it is creepy, whatnot, and it's in a fantastical world, so fine. But this cult, through the feeling of belief and passion and love and wanting the Empty Man to have a vessel, they just create our protagonist. Our protagonist is only 3 days old. When he was born, he was just a man, and they gave him a backstory. They gave him like all this stuff. He's pretty much just like a created character. He's a video game character. They gave him all this to motivate him to get to this point so he would become the vessel. So when you get the reveal that there's a lot of stuff in this movie that was preordained to happen or never even happened at all. It's just completely in his imagination, which is always a risky thing to do with the movies. But that's the big twist, is the whole time the cult of the Empty Man created him to be a vessel, and that's his only designation.
Okay, I'm going to stop you right there, because the question on this then for me is, I took it more so that like within this last 3 days is when they had started to like take over his mind, and that's when they like started this process. But I thought he was a real person up to that point. And they picked him because he had like this traumatic past, and that would make him more susceptible or something like that. Because then why do the other cops know who he is?
It's all in his mind. Like, and that's where I've looked up, people still try to go what happened in the movie and what didn't, because she talks about that with the family. They gave him this tragic backstory, like the cult, like, and our main character, or the main girl that went away, she actually wrote the story. That's what she says, like, oh, I wrote your backstory.
Yeah.
So him sleeping with his mom or her mom, the killing the kids.
So do those cops exist and they just said different things, or they just not exist whatsoever?
That I don't know. I take it as they don't really exist. Or if he heard something else, the same way when he would interact with that mom at the end when she phones him, she's like, I don't know who this is.
Yeah.
I've never talked to you. So I think it's just a scenario that didn't actually happen. I think there's a lot of this movie that didn't actually happen, and they're just like putting this in his mind.
So from how I took it, because you guys kind of touched upon it, like, yeah, I initially thought, Dylan, that it was this person who got fractured and broken from this tragic accident of his wife and his son, and then they took his mind because it was obviously sorrow, and they were able to just do whatever they wanted to it. But now when I started looking into tulpas, it seemed like, again, this tulpa is something that other people can't see, but like as an individual, you can like put your thought and manifest and create this. And so I took it as the girl that went missing, she created this tulpa, this character that we follow in the story, and that's
they all did, though. They show that scene. Remember when he's looking at, there's that scene when he's on like a bridge, or not a bridge. He's in that room and they're all talking down below, the dark room, right? There's a quick shot when they're doing the reveal of her blowing the bottle, and she's with a bunch of them. So she needed a bunch of other cult members to help create this guy too. Yeah,
exactly. So I'm honestly thinking that he's seen to them, but he's not seen to like regular other Joe Blow down the street. That's why, again, when he called that woman, the woman's like, you know, who is this? Like, so he's just not really like a ghost, but
so when he's hitting up the high school, and that one girl gets in his car and they're smoking a cigarette together, does she's a manifestation, or is that whole thing made up? Because that's set up that like the whole town knew about this girl who died and all this stuff, right? So what's up with her then?
I think that one's real because, like Taylor said, because she has like been affected by the empty man. She can talk to this person and interact and have this, because it's almost like, okay, this guy, what was our main character's name again?
James.
Badgley, yeah.
La
whatever.
Sombra.
James La Sombra.
I like
So
that
it's
last
got
name.
James he's in the empty man camp, right? We have that girl that was at the school. The second she talks to the empty man or has that blowing the bottle thing, I think she can kind of go into the world of people that interact with the empty man.
You don't think
So-
it was just a memory, like an implanted memory? 'Cause she's
It
friends
could,
with the
but just the
girl?
fact that because she dies later on, we get a scene separate of him. I think she was something that was not with her cult or anything like that. So I think she got affected as like some sort of sacrifice stuff. So I think that did happen because I think their minds kind of connect in that way, even though he's not really real. He's kind of there. But I think Taylor's right that people that are into that or to me affected by it can interact with James here. James Badgley,
Interesting.
or James Dale Badgley.
Yeah, I mean, this is kind of like a tropey thing, right? Like the what's real and like nothing's real thing. Yeah, I don't feel like it works for me at all here because I'm just when it happened and even now I'm just like more confused than it feels like it's putting things together, which it normally should. Because I don't know, like now like none of it really has any meaning where it's like in any particular scene there. It doesn't seem to be like a rule of who is actually interacting with them and who's not. And so did we just waste our time with those other scenes when we're with the cops? Like those cops, were they actually there and doing something else? Or I don't know. Like I just very confused and not in a good way. That's like, oh, I really want to figure this out. It's just like, I feel like the movie did not have an answer and they just kind of went with it anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like I agree a lot with Dylan there because I'm usually pretty generous with these like heady concepts. It's like, oh yeah, you know, it's make believe, it's a movie, like totally get down. But like if it really is just this guy was made 3 days ago and like all the scenes that we watched just don't really matter because they weren't actually a thing. Now, of course, they do matter because it makes that twist very powerful in the moment. But in that moment, I, like Dylan was saying, like I was just confused and being like, well, that can't be the case. So like maybe this is just a fun movie to discuss with friends on like what actually happened. But like if that is the case, where just 3 days ago, you know, this guy's just poof like into existence, it's like no, you not there, you know. Unless this is like a video game movie, I'm not abiding by that. This guy was just created 3 days ago. Like come on now.
Yeah, for me, like the twist, the first time I watched it, I was like, okay, I was taking some of it in, not some of it. And then, like I said, I watched this video, and then this made it like a little bit better the second watch. But to me, it's not a twist where I'm like, man, I can't wait to, and I did, but I can't wait to rewatch this and see these scenes again and stuff like that. And now seeing them again, I think there is a lot of, it's tough, right? Because when movies do this, when it's like, okay, there's going to be a big twist, a big reveal, but we're not really in on it. It's like, well, of course it's a twist because we didn't see it coming. Like, I don't think there's too many signs when they are talking this. When there's a whole movie of him talking to this woman that he's had an affair with, right? There's no signs in that scene where it's like sometimes you get the flashbacks of him. He was talking to no one, or he was in an insane asylum. Then there's little hints. You go, oh, okay, but there's none of that. It's just like, oh yeah, you know everything. Boom. And again, talking about Sixth Sense. When you watch Sixth Sense, that happens with that twist. If like, well, I'm sure everyone knows, but like, okay, the main character Bruce Willis, he's dead and stuff like that, right? And he can talk, like he's with someone that can talk to ghosts, so you can see Bruce Willis. But when you go back and watch the Bruce Willis scenes, there's so many times where he's interacting with someone and they say stuff, but they're saying to someone else, like they're not interacting with Bruce Willis. Like, and he like in the movie they set up that Bruce Willis and his wife are separated, so they're really estranged. So they show them having dinner, and Bruce is like trying to say, I could be better, I could change, and she just gets up and walk away. Now we take that as, oh no, the wife's walking away because she's not wanting to do this marriage anymore. But really, it's she walks away because there's no fucking person in this chair. She's just having dinner alone. This movie doesn't do that to me. It's just like, oh yeah, all that stuff, it didn't happen. Oh, what's kind of the hints that didn't happen? Well, we didn't have that. And it's just like, well, of course it's a twist, because if you don't give us that homework to try to pick up on, like a Sixth Sense and Inception, it's not like it is a twist, but it's not an impactful twist for me because I don't get the rewarded viewings. And maybe I'm wrong. There could be more people deep into it. I think people love the movie because they like, almost like Kirklin was saying, that either way it is a heady space. Like technically every happened for this character James because he's like created it on his own little acting adventure, right? Like he's been put into a play and he's supposed to live these things so he will become the empty man because somehow this cult. And I think there's something fun to that these people believe in the empty man so much they like created a person, but that's not what the movie's about until the last 10-15 minutes, you know. So which maybe you could make the whole movie about that. But
So another question then. I'm going to keep them coming. Because he's the one who finds, I mean, from what we're seeing, he's the one who finds all the kids under the bridge and lets the cops know. So are we just to assume that someone else found them or the cops found them and that happened, or did that just not happen at all? Did they never actually find them?
We don't need. Well, I guess there were. I was gonna say we don't even know if like the kids were like real kids, but I guess they had documented folders like of them.
or did
Of
they?
them dying though,
Or did
yeah,
they?
I don't
Yeah.
think they did.
No,
and then
Oh, good.
well, I was just gonna say, yeah, because if Amanda was her name, the one that created him, she like, if she was in on it the whole time, and there was like the other characters, including her, that like did the ritual, maybe it is that case where those other characters are just a part of the cult and they're not actually dead. And who's to say that that isn't the case? Because everything that our character went through and that we saw through his eyes, that was just basically made up, right?
Yeah, I mean, if we don't know that the cops and what they're doing in the movie is real, then it's hard for us to really know anything, because that would be like our only outside characters that aren't either having blown into a bottle, so they're now susceptible to it, or being part of the cult, who I guess if you're part of the cult, you just instantly can interact with the empty man and understand it all.
Once you get your card in the mail, you
yeah,
gotta wait 2
pretty
weeks.
So it's hard. Like, I don't know. I feel like I wish the movie had like picked a side on some of these things so we could have a little bit more to like actually bite on and understand fully.
Yeah.
And maybe it's out there, but I don't know. It's just not. It didn't work for me by the time the movie rolled credits, which it should, or even by now, a few days past. Like, these things should hopefully make a little bit more sense.
Yeah, but they don't really.
Okay, maybe my last question then, and I mean, I'm sure more will pop up, but the scene then when there's two of him, where he's like goes into that place, he sees people doing their ritual, and then later on we see him from the other perspective. He's the one that made the sound under the staircase, whatever it was. Like, what's going on there?
I feel like he's.
Is there actual time travel? What's going on?
That's probably yeah. It's probably one of those moments though, right? Because that would have been him when he was like just made, right? Like when he's on downstairs making the noise.
Yes.
And then because that's like when they make him, and then if like time travel rules, he would have like gone through that second event to like arrive there and witness it, because like eventually that's what got him to become the new empty man, right? So like all of that would have been in the same time frame.
But if he came back to witness it, that would have been after the fact. Like if it was created, then if he were to come back to that creation moment of time, that means he would have to at some point have gone back in time to a degree. Because I mean, if I walk through a door where I'm born or whatever, and then I go live my life, come back a week later and stand on the catwalk looking down at this group, that means that this group is creating another Tulpa in this situation.
Oh, like
But then
another new you.
That
like
if that's
another-
if that's where he was born, like we know that group was obviously calling out, trying to create something together. We know that that's not really the group that created him, because his creation was in that like subway little tunnel with the chair and the group of people behind him, right? So different scenario.
I just took it as like it's like a slip of conscience in a way, and he's kind of. I guess it is. You got that time travel aspect because he makes the sound, but it's almost just him reliving his birth and stuff like that. But again, I don't have a solid answer for that one.
I guess it also could just be something that the creator of him like wrote in, that like he went there and witnessed it from that point, because then that wouldn't have made it real. Actually, it would have just been the initial experience of him being born.
Yeah. Dylan, you got
This
any more
movie is
questions?
headier than I thought it was.
Oh yeah.
I probably do, but I mean, just the like nothing's real thing kind of answers all my questions in a way, right? It's like, well, if anything doesn't make sense, it probably wasn't real. So there you go. Have fun with that, viewer. Like, that's a great decision from a movie making standpoint, isn't it?
Movie's
Kind
not
of a
even real.
catch-all.
You didn't even watch
So
it.
they tried to bury it.
Yeah, this isn't real, and then everything starts tumbling around him and stuff like that.
Fuck, that'd be like a 1408 moment.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. What do you guys think of the lead? Because I haven't seen him in too many things. I saw him in The Departed, and then in Iron Man 3, and that was about it. And I
What
like
does he
him
do in
enough-
Iron Man 3?
He's an extremist goon. Like he's like one of the like he's
Okay.
a bodyguard. He fights Rhodey at one point and stuff like that.
What was the person's name?
He looked distantly familiar
His
to me.
name's like
James
James Dale.
Badge
Is it Badger Dale or Dale Badger?
James,
James
Badge
Badge
Dale.
Badge.
Three words. Three
James
names.
Badge Dale? That is a
Yeah.
very... That does
It should
not
be
flow off
Badger.
the
He
tongue.
looks
That's
so
like a
much
cop's
younger
name.
in Iron Man 3. That's
Like,
crazy.
That was 10 years before this movie.
that really
Don't-
10 years?
Don't shit
No,
on the
but this was
guy.
filmed in 2016 to release in
Oh,
2017,
right.
Travis. It's only 2 years difference.
No, because what was it?
4 years.
Iron Man 3 would have
When
been
was
filming
that
in
filmed?
2012, so it was 4 years. But yeah, whatever. I like him enough in here. Like he's
Doing
like,
this movie aged him like
Exactly.
significant.
I liked him enough as like an actor. Also, we get into the debate of like what's real and what's not. But in the moment when you're watching, it's him learning in these revelations. I think he's like a solid enough lead. I like all the storylines they do give, and that's the problem where the twist I get it is because it is like this. Oh, look at this crazy thing. But I like the movie better. One, obviously, like the 20 minutes, but then obviously the actual just trying to find and investigate this entity because I like the relationship with the Nora and the daughter and everything like that. And I like the whole like it's messed up, and that's the whole point. Like we gotta give you a tragic backstory so you could feel pain, and you're perfect for the empty man. But like in the movie pretense, I love the idea that okay, so his wife and him are friends with this other couple. That husband in the equation dies, so the wife, of course, is with this child. They're at the wake. Child's very tired. She's gonna take the child home. What's our lead gonna do? Just stay back and have sex with the widow in a very like, and it's because it's not. I guess you could say it's not real. It's fine, but just there's even shots when she like has the dress around her face.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
this is just fucking weird, man. But like,
You know, it does sound like something that teenage girl would write as she's
Yes.
like trying to come
I
up
guess
with his
so, yeah.
backstory. So.
yeah, and that's why to me I liked all that in like if it was a real sense as far as I like how disturbing it is, and okay, sure, it sets up James to be this guy that or Paul will like take on the empty man, but I liked the story they were doing with him as like it's a classic investigating the boogeyman sort of situation, you know. So I liked him enough.
Yeah, it's interesting because it's like for most of the movie, I feel like he's purposely not really showing much emotion, and he's like this guy who like it sounds like something sketchy happened why he's not a cop anymore. He obviously has this traumatic thing, so he's kind of disconnected from the world in a way, and so it's like it actually kind of makes sense that he is kind of a boring guy, even if it's not the most exciting. But then he definitely goes on the full Nick Cage turn, like at the end of this, where he's just going crazy.
That's fair.
When he's like threatening Elron. I don't know the actor's name, but I'm just gonna say threatening Elron 'cause it sounds better. But, like,
Elron's
that
going Nick
sequence-
Cage too, and he's
Garrett.
laughing with the blood.
Oh, he's going crazy too.
Yeah.
But that sequence to me was absolutely hilarious. Like that whole time he's just like drinking and driving too. He's just completely off his rocker at that point. But I loved it. Like that was my favorite part about him was when he was just doing some zany stuff. It definitely caught me off guard. I didn't feel like we were going down that direction, and then it obviously takes a whole different turn in the like right after that with the plot twist and whatnot. But yeah, I thought he was okay for the most part because he at least seemed like a good guy. Like he's just whatever he's got going on in life, he's putting it all to the side to like help find these kids. I was like, oh, this guy's he's a pretty good dude. He's on this interesting journey. But yeah, I really liked that Nick Cage kind of turned into a crazy guy version of him. That was fun.
Yeah, it's fun. Yeah, I did like him for the most part. I feel like I was wanting more of his backstory now. Like where I am, of course, now I
ask a
understand.
man.
You got it all. You got it
I
all.
understand. Yeah, I understand why we didn't dive into any of that because they were just like giving us little glimpses of this situation, but like between him and Nora and like that family, and then just like hints of like his backstory. I loved when he like goes to first talk to like the detective, and that other cop is like, "Oh yeah," he's like, "I know you." He's like, "You're a cop." It's like from Baltimore, right? He's like, "Yeah, I heard of you." And then there's just nothing. And I'm like, okay, I guess now I know that he was a cop and some sketchy thing happened in his past. It was just really like cheesy the way they handle it. Again, I understand because it was written by Amanda.
Yeah, the
And-
cult and everything. Yeah.
Yeah, so but like majority of the movie I was just like, why aren't they just diving into like this dynamic between him and this family? Because this is totally fucked up, and there is, as you're mentioning, Travis, like there is a lot of heavy, dark shit about his like story of like he just let his wife like drive his son home while he just stayed back and fuck that lady, and like again, very weird
At the
sex
wake.
scene.
There's still food around. She's still in her wake dress. It's just like, this is all wrong. This is all
Yeah,
bad.
exactly. So again, because that was majority of the movie, I was a little bit like I don't know, like not in it at the time. But I still think he was like a solid actor for this role. Like when he was put into those situations, whether he was in his room and like hearing noises. I got my baseball bat in my bedroom too. I'm like, oh yeah, he's prepared when an intruder comes down, and he seemed believable in those moments. He didn't seem like a classic, like really dumb like character in like a horror movie that just does like I felt like he was doing decent decisions in the moment, and like Dylan was saying, like I was like, yeah, he seems like a like a standout guy if he's just investigating these murders and just putting his life on hold and being like such a great asset to these detectives that weren't ever actually there, I think. But yeah, and then of course I did like his big zany moments, and also just again like it was like a descent into madness, but like clarity at the same time, because he was finally like understanding what he was. So in hindsight, I can kind of appreciate them tackling that, because I feel like that's not a character that I'm used to seeing in movies. This movie is not a normal movie that I've seen. So yeah.
Definitely not in that category. Let's take another ad break and we'll continue our thoughts about lead and other things else. So we'll be right back. And we're back. So, sorry, do you guys want to say anything else on Paul, Mr. Badger? Isn't his name Paul in this movie?
James.
James
His real
in
name's
real
James.
life
Name's
and James in
James,
the
yeah.
movie.
That's what fucked me up there.
It's like I'll
What
take
was
the
his last
role,
name?
but my
Lasombra.
name is gonna
Look
be
at this
James.
Look
Look at that
James.
first
Holy
picture
shit.
there. Is that him pulling
That's
the
him.
tire?
Yeah.
What
that
movie is
actually?
that from?
I don't know what movie
The
it's
Empty
from,
Man
but yeah.
post credit. He's like, I'm coming back. The sequel. But
Damn.
you can't get this off.
Damn.
We're gonna get demonetized.
Whatever this is, it's popular.
Solid
Whatever it
physique.
is.
Yeah. What was that? Was it like a
I don't know. It's just like today's fanboy delusion is what it's called.
Oh, now you know
It's fanboy delusion.
he's living in
I
an
do
empty
not want
man
to check
life.
that website out. That sounds horrible.
Yeah, and that's where it is tough, like to talk about and that's where I guess I'll just talk about some things that I like, because it is tough to break down, because I think there is just most of it is just the answer is boring. It's not real, didn't happen, not real. But as far as just like imagery and everything like that, I liked the cult stuff. I liked all the videos of the empty man and them trying to figure it out. I liked when he went to the actual cult thing. Like I said, you have the guy from Get Out there, and he's been in lots of other things too. But just like you're kind of learning, and to me that cult stuff at least is the actual substantial stuff, because that's actually real, and at least I think it's real, because that's like how they operate and everything. And I do love that moment when he's cruising around the building and he finds them having their little meeting and they all like stop and same thing look at it. Like I loved any time they did that and everything. So there's like some good creepy moments in it. It's just because the payoff was a little meh for me, that in retrospective, like the second watch is like it did feel like nothing, but in the moment I'm like, okay, I'm like in some cinematography here, I'm like even the cult chases him, I love the moon, but they also have like little flashlights and just like little things, and he just fucking runs a bunch of people over. Again, I don't know, does he actually run them over? Like is he like out of control for their thought process, or are they choosing to get run over, or did that not even happen? I digress, but I'm gonna say he ran them over. So, but yeah.
Yeah, for me, when it comes to the cult stuff, I just found it hard to like get an understanding of what exactly was going on there. Like Stephen Root's the name of that actor. I mean, I've been watching Barry lately. He's fantastic in that show. But yeah, like I wasn't exactly sure what his position was in the cult. Like, is he the head of the cult? Is he just like someone they get to do speeches and stuff? Because it seemed like everyone was kind of flocking him afterwards as if he was, like the person at the top, and they all came to like praise him or something like that. So I was a bit confused by it, but I think like overall, like we get a lot of time with either hearing the cult speak or see these conversations, or when he goes to that cabin and we're getting a lot of stuff there. But I just felt like it was way too jargony for me. Like they have too many of these phrases that I think are just probably 5, 10, 15 minutes longer than they need to be, and it makes it hard to follow what's going on, and I can't fully grasp it. And there is certain things in there, like he transmits, we listen, like that thing, that really stuck with me, that line. But like, I don't know, what does it really mean? And it's like backed up by all this other, just many, many paragraphs of random BS that I think just ended up kind of clouding what the final vision was. And I almost wish they simplified it a bit, because I love a good cult, but I just couldn't get into this one because I just found myself too confused, and not even with like their ultimate plan, because I think that makes sense to me. But it's just like, who are all these individual people, and what are they all doing here, and who are these like people that were getting highlighted and whatnot? It's just a bit too confusing for my liking.
Well, that's where your name kind of comes into play here again too with the cult, because that was what he's preaching, right? Like life is just full of repetition, and it's just repeats and just scenes where human beings just get caught in this kind of grind and they lose that soul in their lives. So coming here and having that, the
described
classic
my work
cult
life.
higher purpose. I guess that's kind of like the pull to kind of recruit all these people. And maybe, I don't know if they're thinking that maybe the empty man is like a genie in a bottle kind of a thing. We go to this hospital room and we get our like 3 wishes or something like that. I don't know, but the goal for me was a little bit more elusive. But in terms of like why these people were all here at the cult, I feel like I understood that a little bit better.
I was gonna say, when Dylan said I like a good cult, someone's gonna cut that out and cancel him one day at that clip. I like a good cult, but no,
I love a good cult, man. It can be very captivating when it's done well.
Yeah, I guess cult technically is not bad. It's just that it's been used for
It's usually bad.
It's usually
bad.
nowadays it's
Not
bad,
always.
but it didn't start that way. But I think I don't have much more to add on what Dylan said, other than I just want to say this because I will forget it, and other guys have said this. That I think that this movie definitely could be shorter. I get it, because I feel like they're trying on purpose to make it feel like long and drug out. So when you get that twist, it feels like, oh my god, like what a big journey we've been on. But I think, what did we say? It's like 218 or something like that. Like I can't,
Yeah.
I think
It'd be
you
a
could,
clean 20 minutes.
well, no, I won't go there. Just
The
the
opening.
opening.
Short
I
film,
think you
yeah.
could get this down to a 2:05. I really do, because I do think eventually it's just a lot of hitting the same tropes kind of over again. Now, if it was the big reveal of him finding out what this cult was and exposing it or taking it on, then sure. But again, that's where I feel like the second he enters that hospital room, the movie shifts, and it's just like, Amanda talking about a bunch of stuff, revealing the plot, everything. He shoots the fucking vessel and everything like that. But I feel like it's just what am I looking for? The word, not exploration. What is when they explain the plot a bunch?
Exposition.
Thank you, Dilmas. It's just that for 20 minutes with some scary imagery in there. So then when you watch it again, at least for me, it just doesn't add up to much, because it's kind of going nowhere. So I feel they could have cut some stuff. Even then, when we talk about this whole, hey, none of this could be real, the whole cult and that girl that he's talking to and she kills herself, I don't even know if that stuff's needed. It adds the intrigue if this is he's a real detective looking into this. But if he's not a real detective, I don't really think that's needed. I think you can get the same amount of movie without that mileage.
Well, I think too, like they really stuck on this 3-day cycle, and like you could have done that and then made it, skip through parts of it. But I feel like they wanted to intentionally make it so like each day of these cycles are equivalent in screen time for some reason. So, for example, like
A 72-hour long movie.
the opening sequence in Bhutan, like they as much as we all liked that sequence, considering that that's not really what the movie is, like that's just kind of a scene setter, like you easily could have shaved 5 minutes off of that just by making it a bit more snappy. And like the other thing that didn't work for me was he has this sequence where he's sleeping in bed and then he hears something outside, so he like examines this hallway, and then he like, picks up his weapon and like goes out to the door.
He's Kirklin with a baseball bat.
We pretty much we pretty much get that. I mean, it's slightly different each time, but we see it like that sequence twice over, and both times it feels like it's just, I don't know, like it doesn't really have a nice ending to it. It's kind of just like, oh, no one was there, nothing happened. So it's like, I don't know why that needs to happen twice. Like, I guess they're trying to do it because of the cycle thing, but I think you easily cut one of those house sequences out of there, combine them into one, shorten down that 3-day sequence, or at least like you don't have to spend as much time with each day if they're not going to be as exciting. I think just those two things alone would save you a lot of time, and then just cutting back on the exposition, as you mentioned, Travis, like taking away some of that jargon that just confuses instead of adds to it. I legitimately think you could take 20, 30 minutes off this movie and it would be better. I don't know. I don't know if I should say be better for it, but at least it would make the pacing better. And that is
Easier
a
pill
big
to swallow,
that is a big
too.
con that all of us have, is that it is way too long. So I think that would help it out a lot.
Yeah, you're not wrong with the opening, and that's what sucks, is because that is like the best part, but it's just thinking of like, okay, what goes towards the other movie. But I think that's part of the twist, right? Is they're trying to make you think it's a different movie, but then when you get it, it's like, oh, it's not really him looking into something, he is the thing, and stuff like that. And I agree with you, even stuff like, it's even little stuff, but we get lots of flashes of like him like pulling up the woman's dress before. It's like, okay, I got the idea of it. It's
We
just
see
like,
those shots of his family, his quote unquote family, so many
Yes.
times. They hit you
Yeah.
over the head with that weight.
yeah, and that's where it's like, even if this just saves 2 to 5 minutes, you can take some of this. Like I get, even if it was just a regular mystery, I get it. He feels bad about his family. He really screwed up here, like, all right, but alas.
Yeah.
Let me take a look at my notes. But you guys have anything specifically notes wise, sequences, scenes, shout them out because now's the time.
With my name, I absolutely loved when our character of Greg, I think it was his name, was in the cave and he's just all puzzled. His buddy's just like meditating in front of the skeleton. It's like, what the fuck is going on? He says it a couple times and then he goes like face to face to like the empty man skeleton and he's just like, what the fuck are you? And I just burst out laughing. I was like, oh my god, this is gonna be such a fun movie. And then it completely shifted like 10 minutes later. But yeah, that moment, holy shit, I knew that was gonna be my name because it was just such a memorable moment.
That shot too, like once again going back to that sequence, you're talking about like the snowy mountains and stuff, but that is a great sequence when he goes in the cave.
yeah.
The kind of Blair Witch moment where his friend's like, he's there, he's
Oh,
conscious,
yeah.
but he's not looking at him. Like that was a great moment. I wish we could have lived in that for the whole movie.
I'm sorry if one of you is looking like that, and if you say if you touch me, you're gonna die. I'm not touching you. I'm like, I'm gonna have to get you airlifted out of here because
You're not
there's
gonna go, what the fuck are you?
What
Right?
the fuck
What
are
the
you?
fuck are you?
What do you think would
Oh my
happen if
God,
no
that
one
character.
touched him?
I
Just
think he
roll
would
credits.
be. Yeah, no, but no, I honestly think he would probably be contained there, and the vessel would die, but then the empty man would be stuck there because, like, I feel like because I don't know what the whole ritual is. Because he says, "If you touch me, you die." Right? To me, that's kind of insinuating that now that he's touched him and they bring him out, and he can start to whisper to these people. He can like slowly start to infect these people to become his followers and stuff like that.
But he killed them all off anyway before he left. Right?
Yeah.
Who like our main guy?
Yeah, well, because like all those
After
three
he
people,
touched them, though, right? That's the thing. They all touched him after, like, they're help lifting
I
him
feel
up.
like
I know, but
the
they
cult
didn't help him
members
get
would have
out,
came,
really,
though.
right?
How did he get out of the cave then?
Well, I mean, like, okay, he is when they're all dead, he's still at like the top of that mountain. So I assume he
Yeah.
like went down by himself, is what I'm saying. So if he could
Yeah.
do that, I assume he could get out of that cave eventually.
I guess, but then what does that meaning of if you touch me, you die? And it's not a threat. It's not like someone like he's gonna mess him up because that doesn't happen. So I just don't know if it is.
Yeah,
Does he need like their deaths to kind of give him some sort of power?
I wonder if that's
in a
still
way?
a bit of his friend still in there, like saying don't
Yeah.
trying to save him. I wonder.
It could be, yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I still, yeah, because that's the thing. Well, I guess technically though, he went down there. Did he still like? Let's say they leave him in the cave. Did he have the tools to get up? I can't remember that if he still
He needs
No.
a rope, and the lady
Yeah.
was
Buddy
holding the other
rappel.
line of the rope up top. Right.
So you know what? If they would have figured this out, obviously there's no way they could have. But I think if they could have left him in there, same thing. He would have become a skeleton. It would have just been like, well, hopefully someone else finds the empty man at some point in the future. But no, they brought him up and he's in this cabin and
Yeah. The look of the effigy, oh my gosh, what a great like image of this creature of like it doesn't dance around and move. It's just this like one skeleton and such like a weird shape. It just
Yeah.
It
totally
was
looks
huge
spooky.
too, right?
It was, yeah.
yeah,
Oh yeah.
a lot of fingers and things like that.
A lot of fingers.
Like I want to see it in its like form before it became the skeleton. Like
I know.
Is it really a man? They call it
Because
the empty man.
yeah, it looks humanoid with the skull and everything, but like are those his hands? It looks like a chess piece or something and then like these fucking tendril things coming out of him.
Yeah.
Weird. Definitely alien or monster looking.
It's an alien.
All comes back to that. Crystal
yeah.
skull.
I hit all my notes as far as scenes I wanted to shout out, creepy scenes, stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, I want to shout out someone can look this up. The actor who plays Elrond also is in this movie because
yep.
I mean, we just finished Rings of Power and then I watched this the day after, so it was kind of fun to see that guy in a different role because I really liked him in Rings of Power, and I don't think he's doing a great job here, but I also don't think there's much room for him to do a great job. I still had fun with who the character was, but I was almost confused because I before I watched the movie, I think Taylor had said in our chat that Elrond's in it. I'm like, wait, what are you talking about here?
Which
and
one
then
did you think? Which one?
I
did
thought
your
it was
mind jump
Hugo
to?
Weaving. I 100%.
I don't know. I feel like I might have thought about I was thinking about this guy because we're so hot off Rings of Power, but what was it like? Because the first scene you get with him when he's like getting a coffee, and I think James like says something to him, and he just like walks the other way and doesn't say anything. I'm like, is that the only time he's in this movie? Because like I don't think he's a huge actor, so that would be, I guess that would make sense. He's kind of just some small side character. I was like very confused by that. But then obviously he shows up like, once again, we're doing everything in cycles in this movie. So he shows up like 10, 15 minutes later, and then we get a bunch of sequences with him. But it was fun to at least see him in another role now that I have a bit of perspective on him.
Saying a lot of mans.
Yeah, definitely eating up that word.
And the reason why I thought it was going to be Hugo Weaving is because going into this, I thought this was Hollow Man, like the 2002 movie. I'm like, oh, it's going to be so interesting to see him
This
back
lines
then.
up. Kevin Bacon, Hugo Weaving.
Same era,
what a
Lord of the
cast.
Rings.
Yeah, there you go. In his Elrond era. The last thing I wanted to shout out, which I have a answer to this now, which is that none of it is real, so that's fine. But I was going to say, too, when the police investigation is going on, and this guy is like the last one who talked to Amanda before she went missing. He found all the bodies under the bridge. He was talking to a high schooler in his car, like smoking with her, which is like a very creepy, weird thing for him to do. Like he just knows so much. I'm like, it is shocking to me that they have not detained this guy. Like he should be suspect number one. He's like, had this traumatic past, ex-cop. He's kind of this weird guy, has these weird connections with everyone who's gone missing. It's like, man, they should be arresting this guy right now. But obviously none of that was real, so it all makes sense. But I had to shout that out still.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, no, and I feel like they at one point, like they almost make it look like the cops want to question it, but that is never.
I was waiting for it to come up,
yeah.
and then it's just like, oh, this guy's former cop. He's totally trusting there. No
And
one
just
was
even
like,
that
hey, I
stuff,
heard you
get
fucked
rid of it.
that dead guy's life.
yeah. We all know about what you do. Like, just even get rid of that. If you're not even you have the cops as recurring characters throughout the movie, like also looking into it, you don't need them. You know. And again, I get the intrigue it's adding, but yeah. Taylor, you got anything to add?
That again, just you guys already talked about it, but that sequence where he found the cult in the woods and all that kind of stuff, and he was hallucinating as the flames are going super high. But you guys already talked about their movements and stuff. The one thing that really got me was just when they were approaching him and he realized that they were like mimicking his movements, and I'm pretty sure he said nope. And then he turned and
Yes, he
ran,
does.
and I really, really like that.
I think he's like, yeah, no, and he runs. And I thought was an endearing moment, but the same thing too about obviously they start climbing over the car, but when you watch that, you can almost make it feel like he is controlling them in a sense because they do move just the same way he moves. Like every time he moves a foot back, they move a foot forward and stuff like that. Now, again, like I said, they go ape shit on his car. They're backflipping all over it when he runs them over. So that part doesn't really track, but I guess the track could be just that they want to get like he thinks they want to kill him, do all these things, but they just.
I mean,
wanna,
that's probably not actually a real car, right?
Yeah, I guess. I guess not. It's not a real car. He's like, "Where's the insurance on this thing?" Like he hits somebody. Like they're like, What's this creation we made? Why is he worried about the car damage?" She's like, "They just want to get here." And like, there's a whole day, like day 3, he's like at an automotive shit. Like he's like really has to get his car fixed, and the call's just like, "I fucking hate what you created here, Amanda. Like this guy's really responsible." And like, "Oh, okay, well, I'm just gonna sit around, rent a new car." And like, "Oh my god, he's never gonna get to us. What's happening? Just go to the hospital."
I hope there's some fan fiction out there that's like ties this into the Matrix world in some way, shape, or form. Because I feel like that would be believable if his character was just made somewhere. He's actually just a program.
He's a program.
And then nothing is real because it's all just, take the blue pill or
What
whatever.
if instead of that, though, this is actually related to Iron Man 3 and is the same character? He's actually part of the MCU.
This is him after he
The
retired.
Empty Man is the next
from working.
Thanos.
Yeah, Empty Man's definitely gonna be in Doctor Strange 3. Like with Zombie Strange fighting the
yeah.
Empty Man, I can't like we'll get to see the Empty Man fully formed then. That skeleton, he's gonna be fucking huge.
Ooh.
Actually, now that I think about it, the skeleton kind of looks like Doctor Strange when he has the cloak. So maybe it's just a Doctor Strange thing gone poorly, you know? So
This is set way in the future after
I mean, it makes
Strange.
sense too, right?
Yeah,
Because
it does.
Doctor Strange, they have Kamar-Tajas in Nepal, but Bhutan and Nepal are on they're bordered with
yeah.
each other,
All
so they're
coming
really
together.
close. It's
the
all
Empty
coming
Man
together.
took down the Sanctum Sanctorum, like everything, and that's why like this hole in the cliff is where
Wow.
like the headquarters used to
We
be.
figured
Lungs
it out,
down there
guys.
somewhere.
It all makes
Yeah.
sense now.
Wow.
It's some Sorcerer Supreme bullshit. All of that. yeah.
Thank you, Kevin.
It's
Feige.
Zombie Supreme, like his body like left in that destroyed temple. Isn't
I
it?
can't wait
the
in Secret
arms.
Wars when those portals open again and the empty man walks through.
Nice.
Just this cloaked motherfucker.
The audience will be like, "What the hell is that?"
Yeah. Oh, I know that character from Marvel Comics '92. Yeah. No, you don't.
Thanos is stabbing himself in the eye as he comes back.
No, it's Fury in the other eye, though. So he's just a blind man. I'll start with Taylor because I imagine you'd probably be the lowest there. So Taylor, obviously I don't know if you can say anything more. As you said, Clay, you wasted 2 hours of my life. But any final thoughts and a rating you would give this?
Yeah, I'm not gonna watch this ever again. And when I was making dinner tonight, I just kept telling Madison, like, oh, this movie was just not good. It's not good. When I went to bed last night, like 1 a.m., she's like, how's the movie? As I woke her up, I'm like, oh, I'm glad you didn't watch
You're
it.
whispering in her ear.
Yeah, it was just
Wait. Don't watch the movie. Don't watch the movie.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's it's one of those things, it's, Clay, for the fans, for the patrons, you put the signal in the sky and I answered the call, and that was one hell of a call. It's it's a movie and it's not high on my list. Like I said, I'm not gonna rewatch it. The character's hard to get connected to, and when you get like finally to the end where there's a twist, you just feel like everything that you observed and this journey you went on was completely irrelevant because it doesn't even all happen. I guess I don't know. It's
Most
just,
of it.
Yeah,
it
most
happens
of it.
in his mind, Taylor. It
That's a
happens for him.
cop-out.
Yeah, you could
It
say
happens
that.
when the plot needs it to happen.
Yeah, exactly. So as far as a rating would go, I'd probably go like a 2 out of 10. I'm only giving
Oh
it
my god, is that your lowest rating of all time?
It might be actually.
Holy.
I had
1 point per every 10 minutes I enjoyed.
I was
Wow,
going to ask you, what are
two.
the 2 things you enjoyed from this? What gives you the 2 and not at least a 0?
It was the setup at the beginning of just
Yep.
getting
Yes.
this isolated kind of landscape, and then seeing the bones of like this cryptid like remains. I was like, "Fuck, I'm in,"
bones.
Cryptids.
and I regretted that decision. So
The bones is a full point
Oh, yeah.
of the point skill system.
Well, it's cryptid.
big
related. You know
bones.
that's going to give him a
True.
boost, Yeah.
Dylan, any final thoughts as far as we'll probably
My-
never talk about Empty Man ever again?
Yeah, I mean, in concept, movies like this, I really like to get nitty gritty with it, break down the details and stuff. And unfortunately, like this was not one of those for me. Like I just afterwards thinking about it, like nothing was satisfying for me to think about. And even in this discussion, like this is not your guys' fault. The movie just is not satisfying in that it's not giving us like oh, I want to theory craft on this, what this means to me, what it means to you, that kind of thing. It just doesn't do that. But I'm gonna throw it right back to you, Clay. All those questions we had, I want to see paragraphs. I want to see your essay right back to us, and please tell us what your answers are. Or if you don't even care about that, maybe Clay doesn't even like this movie. I don't know. But if you do, I want to know what it is about it that you like and what your answers to those questions are, because we've had many of those conversations with you in the back before we had a Patreon on Facebook. We'd be talking with
Yes.
Clay for hours, days about certain movies and games and stuff like that. So I really want to hear from you on why you picked this, why this is like worthy of going back to 2 years later. But for
If
me,
he-
that's pretty much it today. I
If
think.
he doesn't rate in next after 9, I'll grill him too. Like I'll get him
Yeah.
too. Because I don't know who else would have seen it as far as our patrons go.
I
think
feel like
anyone else
April
except
probably
April for
seen
sure
it.
has seen
Seems
it.
like an April. one,
April,
yeah.
who's rocking like 200 movies on our letterbox. I feel
Yeah,
like
crazy.
I feel like Big Boy when I'm like, I've watched 53. I've watched a movie per week a year, and she's like, yeah, look at this, boom, and stuff like that. So,
Yeah.
but there you go. Clay, the Gauntlets. He's gonna come back. He's like, I want you guys to watch Hollow Man. Like, what the fuck? Like, you guys watched the wrong movie. But Kirklin Pats, or what is your final thoughts on the score?
Yeah, so as we talked about, the just irrelevance of the journey of our main character, it really brought down my overall feeling of this movie. But like I can't deny it definitely had me on edge in certain moments, like when he was in his house and he was hearing stuff, and that I feel like that ritual is a fun like trope to have in a movie and follow along with. It's always been kind of spooky. Like I remember just getting so freaked out about like the Bloody Mary concept as a kid and just like what you would see. It was more like what you would see. It was just like terrifying of me. So like something like the Candyman and those types of movies I feel like really do it for me. The cult stuff was really fun too. We should like that scene that we mentioned of just like them all just like running around in a circle of this flame like pillar, and he's just like in the woods and comes across this, and it's just like, what the fuck have I come across? And then when
What
it
the
just
fuck
goes
are
dark,
you?
he goes up to them, what the fuck are you? No, but like that was just such a well done scene, and with the opening as well, like there definitely is things that I can enjoy in this movie, but it definitely hurts it a lot knowing that just a lot of that stuff is irrelevant. But like I said beginning, I do want to revisit this. This might be a fun one to show my dad or something. See, I feel like he'll like a heady movie like this. So I think right now I'll give it like a 6. I think I think I was leaning like 6.5 because of just like how I was feeling in some of those moments, but it brings it down a lot with just knowing that this character never really was there and never really interacting with a lot of the scenes, and it was just so long. So unfortunate. Share your thoughts, Travis.
I'm just picturing this watch along between Kirkland and his dad, and it's like they're watching like the funeral scene, and Kirkland's like, you see that? You agree with that, Dad? You see him fucking that guy's wife? What do you think about that? I don't know why.
You should just tell your dad at the start, this guy is actually not real, and then just see how he reacts to the rest of the movie at that point.
Or say, one of these characters isn't real. Tell me who it is. But just the thought of watching like that sequence with parents, just
A modern day Sixth
And
Sense.
yeah, when the movie starts, like this whole snowy part, don't worry about this. This is not relevant. You know what I mean?
This is the prequel to the movie you're about to watch. You know, shave 20 minutes and it's a 2-hour movie. But yeah, I'm right where Kirkland is. I'm at 6 because I think it's there's some stuff I like, as I said, about some moments in there, and I think acting overall is for most part good, like serviceable. I think there's some fun shots there. I think there's some score didn't stand out to be amazing, but I thought it wasn't also bad either, or anything like that. So I think it's more than a passable movie. It's just kind of in concept that I like, and then the execution not so much. And I feel like when we talk about the it's not real or these sort of scenarios, it's kind of like when you watch like an A24 movie and the most wildest shit is happening, but they never do like a get a jail free card where the person wakes up from a dream, right? Like there's scenes where like, oh no, this actually all happened in this world, it all happened and stuff like that, and they don't go back on it. Or this, I feel like they kind of go back on it, yes, for a journey for a particular character, but for me it's not a journey that I plan on ever going on again. But yeah, like I said, I like some stuff, the cult stuff. I like the scene always, like I said, with the field. I think that's a highlight along the opening and some things. But yeah, no, I wish I liked it more because I know Clay, you're a big fan, and hopefully, yeah, like Dylan says, I want to hear you why you are a big fan. But he's not alone. There's tons of other people that are. They kind of, when I've seen people be like, oh, give me Halloween movies on my Twitter timeline of like what I should be watching I haven't seen before. Empty Man does come up quite a bit, so it's just. Yeah, I don't know, and that's that's good. So, well, ladies and gentlemen, we did it. We'll be back next November to be talking about. Also, there'll be other retrospectives along the way, but for the Patreon picks, we're gonna be watching Jake Gyllenhaal's Prince of Persia, and you know what? I feel like this might be the better movie somehow. So we'll see what happens in November. And until then, it won't be boring.
Bye-bye.
Bye.